Hey guys, I want to talk about something that has been kicking around my head lately. It's the phrase, it's just a game. It can be used in a lot of different ways. Most of the connotations of that are not positive. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not, but wanted to talk about some of the reasons why we do some of the things we do. So in my particular case, had a lot of energy, didn't really know what to do with it, and tried to run it off. It turns out you can run really far and not be able to outrun all of your energy. You can't outrun your stress. You can't outrun a lot of things in life. You can try, and I did, but it's been really fun to have a shift happen. So like when I started, I've always loved being outside, but about 9 years ago, I started just running a lot, and had a lot of stuff rattling around my cabeza, had a lot of energy to expend, and needed to find a healthy outlet for it. And it turns out things like cardio can be really helpful. But like anything else, if that's all you do, and you do it to just numb yourself, then you're getting some good exercise, but you're not actually changing anything. And at some point along the way, you'll probably realize that, things do kind of need to change. And it's interesting, the things that exist in life, and everybody has, different things. So I'm just going to tell you what mine were and are, and hopefully it'll inspire you to figure out what your things are. But so, one of the ways I try to control a lot of anxiety is just to do a lot of cardio. Kind of helps. My anxiety was a massive contributor to a lot of sleep disturbances, which I still kind of have. You guys, beer literally grows on trees. I knew it. That's a PBR tree right there. Anyway, so, anytime we do, an activity that, we're doing to try to, find some peace or sanity, or, we've all got different phrases for the things that we do in order to basically just not let anxiety drive the bus. So for me, one of them, is running, and it's awesome and it feels good. It releases endorphins. It does a lot of fantastic things, for your brain. It helps, with learning. There's just a lot of research out there that supports cardio helps. But like anything, if you do that and don't, eventually work on what the underlying issue is, then all you're doing is treating a symptom. And then sometimes, what you are doing to treat the symptom can become its own issue as well. So it can happen with anything that's good. It can also happen with some of the, numbing things that don't seem to have positive benefit, kind of like alcohol or things like that. Like when used excessively, obviously it's not good. It's numbing. It makes it so that you don't feel like taking care of the real issues at hand, and it actually increases anxiety. And this can happen with anything. If like running or cardio is your thing, sometimes people will start to set some goals that really you don't have any control over. And all that does is serve to feed the anxiety a little bit more. And other avenues in which I found myself kind of substituting. That's a word I'm going to use a lot. I would substitute, looking inward and doing the really hard work, on kind of myself, and, developing, more emotional maturity in a field of anxious type feelings. Sorry, this is one of the coolest places at this little park behind where the Holiday Lions Rec Center is. If you know where that is, there is a family of foxes that lives in this horse pasture. Oh, I can see them. You'll get a visual here on the other side. One of the best indicators that the foxes are visible is when you see the people looking at the foxes. We're gonna eventually get to the punchline that I'm going for here, but the foxes are pretty cool. Hey, how are you guys? Oh, did I? No, I hope I didn't scare them away.
So you got flocks?
Huh? Yeah. Yeah, it's a little easier to see through there. Hi, little guy. All right. Yeah, let's see. There he is, right there. This is pretty cool. This is actually one of the reasons I really like being outside. It's just seeing cool stuff. I mean, for me, my favorite nature documentary is just going outside and looking for things. But kind of bringing things all the way back to the original point that, you know, sometimes going outside and looking for things can end up being a substitute for looking inside at the things that really need some attention. And it's a lot of times it can be hard to give yourself that attention because, well, I mean, there's a few reasons why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And a lot of it's just never got taught how to, how to properly, take care of your feelings. And, life doesn't come with an owner's manual, and sometimes we figure it out and sometimes we don't. And, I'm really super fortunate to have figured some things out, so I'm hoping to share that. But one of the things that substitutes can do, they not only can keep you from taking care of the things that need attention, but they can also become their own problems. It can feed the feelings of anxiety, even though you're doing the thing that you thought was supposed to help reduce it. So, and at the end, there's just no way around it, guys. You got to look in. You got to go through kind of a little bit of a difficult emotional boot camp, but it's totally worth it when you do. One of the substitutes I used to have in my life too, and don't get me wrong, I absolutely love sports. I think they're really fun. They're fun to watch. They're fun to play. Well, maybe not as much anymore. They're fun to watch. One of the substitutes that I had was, I would follow some sports teams and I would watch how hard everybody was working and how well they were coming together as a team. And, getting to support, victories like that is awesome. And in 2009, I got to support, my home soccer team, Real Salt Lake, when they won the championship, and it was awesome. I literally felt like I won the championship. I'm not on the team. This is a race t-shirt, not a jersey with my name on it. And it's been interesting because it's really fun to support things like that, but why? And I think one of the reasons why is, when you know that you've got a lot of work to do on yourself, but you don't know how to do it, sometimes it is easier to substitute and watch other people succeed that you support. And then it feels like because you are supporting them, there is a little bit of a feeling of victory at the end. And I mean, sports are an important part of pretty much every culture that has ever lived. They're just different. I mean, they weren't called, football, and that was F-U-T-B-O-L. That's the real word for soccer, or American football, or baseball, or, I think it was the Mayans would play hit ball. Every culture kind of has their own thing. And so it's just really cool to watch kind of the evolution of things over time and how we as people, gain a sense of accomplishment by watching other people do the work. And there is a place for it, but it can also become its own problem. The way to the way to test this theory is to just ask yourself, do I or people close to me think this is a problem? And if the answer is yes, it's probably a problem. Now, does that mean you can't support sports? No, you can absolutely support sports, but support yourself first. Take care of your work, and then all of a sudden, watching sporting events becomes way more enjoyable, and your personal mood is not as affected, by, wins or losses on a weekend. And, when you have wins that are your own, they're a whole lot more important and they're a whole lot more memorable. I mean, going to games is fun, and I've been to some memorable wins, but they really kind of pale in comparison to the personal wins that you get when you start to figure out first of all, when you start to figure out that, yes, I am in fact neurodivergent, and I also in fact feel anxious a lot of the time. You don't have to avoid, feeling anxious. It can actually be a very powerful motivator. It can be a very powerful tool. It can be a very powerful teacher. It's just society says things like, I have anxiety. And when you say I have anxiety, and I've said this up until about yesterday, when you say I have anxiety, that means you're married to it. Like it is a literal part of you. And the fact of the matter is, it isn't. It is a feeling, it is a process, but it is not you. And if you can step back and observe what happens when those anxious moments hit, a lot of learning can occur. And I had a really cool experience yesterday where, super stressful day, I kind of felt like crap all day yesterday anyway, and got home from work, like literally everything that could have gone wrong at work that's not true, but many things went wrong at work yesterday, mostly technology, but and some plumbing. Nobody likes a plumbing problem. I got home from work and was just totally gassed, and sat down to just try to relax, and immediately the anxiety waves start to hit. And I've read all the books. I've talked to a therapist for a while. I have like the book learning in my head, but it's one thing to kind of be able to recite what sounds like the right answer, and then there's a big difference between that and actually feeling it, incorporating it, testing it, and finding out that it does in fact work. And I had a situation yesterday where that happened. I got home from work, literally, like, I even got home early. It was like 5:15, and just kind of sat down and just felt the anxiety wave starting to come. And this is where it gets kind of cool. So the anxiety wave would come, and it would hit hard. And what's interesting, and you'll find this too, you'll get the feeling first, but then your brain a nanosecond later starts to try to assign meaning to that feeling. And guys, a lot of times anxiety, there's not a reason for it. It just happens. We can make ourselves nuts trying to, figure out what is causing this anxiety. And guess what? Sometimes it just is. It just happens. And so as I was sitting there, huge wave of anxiety hit. And almost immediately, it was almost like my brain, because I'm from the 80s, the visual that happened in my brain is it was like this old-timey jukebox had this lever arm that was like selecting these records that they were trying to play on this track, because somebody's put the dime in, and they would select like a memory that was still associated with like a core wound, and it was funny. It was like, it would like test and say, or to see, well, is this it? And, instead of kind of being in the game there, I was kind of step back and watch the game, and I could watch this happening. And I'm like, no, that's actually not it. I've already dealt with that. And then another test would come and say, well, is it this? And after about 5 or 6 different things that would hit, and those feelings, when they come, they only last for about 30 seconds or so. But when you think about it, that's what extends, the life of some of these anxious thought loops. And once I was able to just sit back, relax, observe, and say, no, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. In fact, it was none of the things that my brain was trying to tell me that it was. And turns out it wasn't any of them. I mean, I just kind of had a generally stressful day, but there wasn't any particular reason to have what is, the way I feel, the anxiety attack is extremely pronounced heartbeat. It's not faster or slower. It just feels like it's beating harder. My legs feel like I've tipped back on the chair too far. And then I get just this crushing kind of feeling in my stomach. So it's uncomfortable as hell. But you know what's more uncomfortable? Feeding that shit. And I've been doing that my whole life. And just standing back and, observing what was going on and realizing that, in fact, sometimes these anxiety attacks will just hit for no goddamn reason at all. Guess what happened? I think it was only maybe 10, 15 minutes. It was gone. Totally gone. And I was like, oh boy, here I go. I'm going to lose an entire night. I'm going to be sitting here stressing about this, and I'm not going to get anything done. And, only had to do battle for about 10, 15 minutes. I rejected all of, the ideas that my brain was trying to assign to this feeling that I was having. And it turns out I was right. There's not any like suppressed feelings, or anything. I'm sure there are some in there still, but like I've been dealing with them all when they come up. It's the way I, compare this thing is like, it's like the same as taxes. Like they're due, you have to pay them. Nobody likes it, but you can either pay it now or you can pay it later with penalties and interest. And, that's a lot more uncomfortable. And unfortunately, a lot of us with anxiety tend to kick a lot of these problems down the road because the solution isn't immediately available. And not having an immediate available solution stresses you out. And back we go again on the little anxiety merry-go-round. And so you can do this. I just know that as soon it's worked for me. As soon as I stopped substituting replacement activities for just dealing with what actually needed to be done in the moment, it has literally been life-changing. You might have noticed I'm making a YouTube channel about this. It's that life-changing. And, for me, I was 49 years old when I finally had my, epiphany. It's a smidge late, but hey, it happened at all. Like, I'm excited that that I even have the opportunity to, take care of this and get to learn. Because, now life really feels like an opportunity, rather than a sentence. And not that I ever was like, you know what I mean? Like, I love life. I love being outside. I want to do all the things, but it's just, now not having extra weight to carry around in my pack and extra little shackles on my feet, which actually is another really incredible analogy with anxiety. Elephants are amazing animals. They are gigantic, and in a zoo environment, they actually wear, like when they're little, when they're giant babies, when they get born, they put shackles on their legs and basically train them to think that when they have this little ring around their leg, that they don't have the power to move on. They have to kind of be in control. They are not, they are being controlled. They are not in control. And then they keep doing this until, they're adults. And guys, elephants are smart as hell, but they fall for this training tactic because they don't know any better. And they feel like that little chain around their leg is really holding them back. Guys, that's what anxiety is. It's a little chain around an elephant leg that if they even just tried to kick their leg like the slightest amount, they would be able to break chains if their legs were chained together. So it's fascinating the amount of shackling we allow our own brains to do to us. And so, obviously I'm really passionate about this. I absolutely love feeling free. I actually love knowing what's right with me now instead of wondering what the hell's wrong with me. It literally is a night and day difference. And I hope this is helpful. I hope you can understand what your own little chains are. I hope you can understand what your substitutes are. And I hope you can learn how to find your own freedom, because it's fucking awesome. And I will see you tomorrow.